We've got students, we've got grad students, we've got seniors and juniors and sophomores, and we've got students that are taking their first CS course that they've ever taken. Okay? And thank you for everybody for coming. Fairly quick with the formal talks, but our first speaker, at least at our school and a few other universities, I think it's going to happen all over, our education for non-majors, okay, has been completely transformed by a language called App Inventor that lets beginners with no programming experience build mobile apps. And we have 3 of the masterminds here of that tool. In fact, we have the director, the tech lead, Mark Friedman, and and how it fits into the world of computer science.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you all. Thanks to USF for inviting us. Particularly thanks to Dave because in a lot of ways App Inventor wouldn't be where it is and what it is without him. He was a very early adopter. He did trials of our stuff, experimented with it probably before it was really ready. Experimented on, some of you students might be here who took this course last year. So we really appreciate that. And I'll get to talk about App Inventor a little bit later on, but first I want to talk a little bit about your accomplishments, right? This is your night. And let's start by talking about computers. Arguably the most important invention of our lifetime, right? We all know that it's everywhere, right? We have our laptops, we have our desktops, we have our phones, but they're also in our cars, our TVs, our refrigerators, just about every electronic device that we make now has a computer or computer chip in it. And you guys know how to program those things. You guys know how to make computers do your bidding. This is incredible power, right? In other cultures, in other times, you guys would be wizards or magicians, right? And if it isn't blasphemous to say at USF, you might be priests or priestesses, right? You'd have respect and power. You'd have access to kings and queens. Nowadays, maybe, in this economy, you'll get a decent job out of it. But still, it's really quite remarkable, right? But there's more than that. Not only do you have the power to control this incredible invention, this incredible thing that is so important in our society, you guys also, you understand it, right? The black box has been peeled open of this thing that is mysterious to everyone else out there. Ubiquitous and mysterious, but you guys understand it. So, in other societies, in other times, you might use seers, or wise men, or oracles, right? And you have more access to kings and queens and all that sort of stuff. But even more important is what that sort of understanding gives to you, right? When you understand technology, or anything like that, and it starts losing its mystery, you gain a kind of mastery over it and yourself and all the things around you. It's no longer this sense of, I live in this world that I don't know about. You now know important things about one of the most important things out there. And not only do you know about it, but the idea that you can know it is itself powerful, right? You won't accept not knowing about things, because you know that it's within your abilities to understand. If you can understand one of the most complex and important things, you can probably understand anything. You can't be fooled anymore, right? You're not just consumers of things. You understand. You've opened up the box, you've looked inside, and you know how it works. You can explain it to people. You can explain it to your fellow students. You can explain it to your friends. Maybe you can even explain it to your mother. Right? If you've achieved that level, let me know, because I haven't gotten there. But even that, even the power that you have of control and the power of understanding, there's another thing that you have. You guys can create using the medium of computers, right? You're artists, you're artisans, you're inventors. And that is the most personal part of all of this, right? You can participate in sort of the miracle of creation. And I won't blaspheme any further about what that might make you. But there's a satisfaction that gives. I mean, I can remember when I first started being able to do this with computers, and it was just mind-blowing. Right? And we sometimes forget that. Those of you who have just started out, people who are using App Inventor, might still remember that feeling when you've created your first app. This thing you never thought you could do on a device that to you was just this phone. It's just this thing that was in your pocket. Right? But all of you have experienced that. Maybe some of you when you were 10 years old. But some of you only now. But many people won't have that feeling, right? Although many people are creators or makers in other sorts of fields, but not in this. So you've become even more than this consumer, even more than this understander, right? You can create things on the devices that the rest of the society can only use in a passive way. And this is an entire change in the way that you think about the world, I think. And it's an opportunity to change the world in lots of ways, right? This idea that, and this is what the computer provides, right? The idea that the same things that just provide functionality to us are also things that we can be creative in, right? An App Inventor is what we created to bring this to more people, right? I could say bring it to the masses. Maybe that's a little going a little bit too far. But we started with the idea, a professor named Hal Abelson started with this idea, that what if the sorts of things that you guys can all do, especially those of you who were in sort of not in the App Inventor class, what if everyone could do that? What if kids could do that? What if kids who otherwise were not the sort of kids to tinker with computers and play around, the geeks and the nerds, believe me, I count myself one, what if those kids could start opening up the black box, have the kind of understanding and power and creativity that you guys all have? What might that mean? And it's really an open question. We don't know. It's all sort of this wonderful experiment that we're running to see. But we're hoping that what it does, ultimately, is have more people not be mystified, have understanding, have power, and not be sort of led around, as consumers, but to be creators and makers. Okay? For those of you who don't know about App Inventor, I won't give a demo. I won't do too much about it. Find your fellow students here who've used it and let them show you. It's really a lot of fun. It's a sort of drag and drop GUI environment for building apps for Android phones right now. It has a funny little visual programming language where you drag blocks around and they click together and all sorts of, it's kind of fun. You can get from 0 to an app in, 15 minutes if you go through the tutorial, and you guys maybe even faster because, you already have some experience. So all I'll just say is try that out. And that's really all I wanted to talk about, just to celebrate what you guys now can do, where you've come from and where you're going to go. So congratulations to all of you.
Maybe a question or two for
happy to.
How did the idea of App Inventor come about?
So Hal Abelson, who's a well-known professor of computer science at MIT, had taught a course in mobile phone development a few years ago, and he was interning as a visiting professor at Google for a summer. And he started hanging out with the Android folks, and I used to work with him at MIT, and we talked a little bit, and he got interested in this idea and started a little research project and figured that maybe he should have somebody who could actually, program while he was at MIT teaching. So he went back to MIT, left me to actually start developing this thing. Still kind of just as a research paper, maybe get a prototype out of it. But we attracted some other people at Google who were interested in this. We were kind of hiding in an area of Google that nobody cared much about, so they let us kind of run with it. And then other people at Google kind of heard about it. We started using some tools that, in fact, Liz had been developing for a while on a different project, and that got her interested in it. And so we kind of just built up from there. We got Dave and some other professors around the country to try it out in a course. We got some good feedback in terms of its potential, and a lot of sort of, yeah, but it's really clunky. So we started trying to reduce some of the clunkiness, created a mechanism where you could actually see what you were doing while you were developing on your phone in real time, so you weren't always sort of compiling and installing and testing and going through that cycle that probably a lot of you are really familiar with. But imagine if instead, you clicked the block and you saw it right there. You dragged a button or a list picker or a phone call component on your laptop, and you could instantly make a call and play with it on your phone. That made a big difference. We finally sort of launched a beta version of App Inventor earlier this year in July, and which was a kind of limited, invitation-only sort of thing. It was kind of funny. We thought we had made some predictions about how many people might be interested in something like this, and we thought of something in the order of maybe 10,000 people in the world, or tens of thousands. We were off by a couple of orders of magnitude in terms of interest. So we've been kind of scrambling since then to try and open it up to more people and make sure it's scalable enough. We're hoping pretty soon to be able to just open it up to the world. Still in a beta form, still has a lot of rough edges, but at least people will be able to try it without having to, fill out a form and wait for us to give them access.
Your domain right now